the last aspect of a business model is you have to assure this particular value. Most of you, if you like John Cleese, will know of the series on British television, which, by the way, has been voted the #1 television series in the whole UK system, Fawlty Towers. If you ever get a chance to watch some of those shows, and they're shown right now on PBS network in the States, watch them, or buy the set. You will laugh your head off, and you will learn so much about the Terminator style of management. And those of you who have grown up in the hotel business like I have know that a lot of the old school managers were Terminator type of managers. They were totally controlling. So much so that you could, you were there to work, not to think. That has to be changed within our business. It has to be changed. And the leading lights right now are people like Isidore Sharp of Four Seasons and Mr. Simon Cooper from Ritz-Carlton. And if you haven't read that, if you haven't read Isidore Sharp's new book, Four Seasons, The Story of a Business Philosophy, do so. Because in it you will see that the process that I am describing is a long-term process. Long-term. And he had to let go a lot of his senior executives in order to achieve that particular values that he had with regard to hospitality. They are inspired because they're purpose-driven, they're visionary. They create value not only for the company, but they create extreme value for the guests. Yes, you or I may not be able to afford to stay there, but the type of people who do know that the value being created on their behalf is worth every single penny that they spend there. These people are innovators in all the areas that I've talked about. They are centered on developing talent and engaging their employees and developing competencies and new competencies to meet the new requirements the guests are expecting. They are standard setters. They set the gold standard for service. So much so that when Ritz-Carlton won the very coveted Malcolm Baldrige Award, which is the top quality award in the States, they've won it twice, which is a huge achievement. They set up a leadership center. And in the project that I had where I was vice president of hospitality for a retirement home, I actually took our whole management team, 25 of us, down to Ritz-Carlton in San Francisco, and they put us through a 3-day workshop, and then we spent 3 days after that talking about how we should improve our standards, our level of hospitality. An awe-inspiring experience. And I attribute it to these people. Now, Simon didn't, he's taken over the stewardship of this company, but he has built this company even further. So, a bit of a summary. What do we have to do? What we're trying to do is to create a very, very powerful business model based on what I call inspired hospitality. In order to become magnificent and indispensable. That is the goal. And every single one of you operates in a business where that goal is achievable in terms of who you are and who your guests are. That is possible. That is the way to get into the profit zone. Because the alternative is not great. You do not want to operate into the no profit zone here. A very, very weak model, which does not create a lot of value for its guests. The hospitality is terrible or non-existent, or it's just matter of fact. And that's not very great. Yes, you can go up the level and you might have an intriguing business idea, but you have no idea or lack the resources or knowledge exactly how to execute that. So you operate in a mediocrity range as far as the customer is concerned. Even down here where there's very, very strong leadership and a good hospitality culture, but without creating real meaningful value for your customer, you can still be considered mediocre. Because you're not at the top of the pile in terms of being the preferred hotel within a destination. Yes, you may be making money here, but you have to get into this range. Now, I've got these little arrows here pointing in with breaks in them. Those breaks are very, very purposeful because moving up into the profit zone and being a magnificent, indispensable hotel means that you have to really work very, very hard at changing what's in your head, your mindset, your operational mindset, how you do business, how you manage. There are transition zones that have to be broken because we tend to operate with a mindset. I can't imagine, Basil Fawlty changing his mindset at all. The only way is for him to be shoved out the door and replaced. And even then, you would be operating in a very, very bad situation because you've taken over a business that has a terrible reputation. And even here, breaking out of this mediocre range means that you have to innovate in a variety of ways, maybe a stronger business model, maybe better systems and processes, definitely better, management innovation. This whole presentation started off, as you read it when you got the invitation, as being a question whether you could optimize profit versus hospitality. Is there a balance? And my answer to that is if you think that that's possible, you're mistaken. You're absolutely mistaken. Because in order to maximize the guest value here, you have got to inspire it through hospitality. And that is something that it's bound together. There's a multiplier effect taking place here. That is the only way to create profit. Now, this is where the sustainability notion comes in, because believe you me, it is going to become, in the next 10 years, one of the major things that a lot of hotels are going to be evaluated on. And what does that really mean in the sustainability sort of mindset? It means you have to concern yourself with some of the social implications of your business, particularly tourism, the environmental aspects, as well as the economic. And we'll always be dominated by the economic. But we have to provide a profit. And maybe that's the wrong use of the word, but a return, a renewal in terms of our environment, a whole emphasis on the development of people and the community. Hotels are destinations within a destination. You are the host to the millions of people that come into this city. There is an obligation as a result of being in the hospitality business that there is an implicit and explicit promise that you will look after your guests and make sure that their stay is worthwhile and valuable. That is the only way to produce profit, and it has to be considered in that broad framework. I think I've probably run out of time.